The college football playoff starts tonight. Every year, the debate sounds the same. Talent, resumes, rankings, conference strength. But the playoff doesn't actually test what fans think it does. It's not about who looked the best in September, it's not about resumes, and it's definitely not about hype. So today, I want to break down what the college football playoff is actually testing, using real examples from the teams that are in it this year. And as always, welcome back to House of Stats. No more waiting, let's dive right into it. Let's start with talent, because this part is objective. If you look at ESPN's Football Power Index, just to be clear, ESPN's Football Power Index is a predictive metric. It's designed to measure how strong a team actually is, not just what their record says. It factors in roster quality, efficiency, margins of victory and loss, and opponent strength to estimate how a team would perform against an average opponent on a neutral field. Every team currently in the college football playoff, outside of the two G5 teams, ranks inside the top 20 for FPI nationally, with the FPI top 5 also including Indiana, Ohio State, Oregon, and Texas Tech, who are also 4 out of the top 5 teams in the country. That tells us something very important. The playoff field isn't lacking talent. At baseline level, everyone in the playoff has elite players, depth, and great roster quality. But when you look at strength of schedule metrics, the picture changes completely. Teams like Indiana and Ole Miss rank much lower, sitting in the 30s and 40s for strength of schedule, which is where a lot of the debate comes from, and that's the disconnect. People argue talent and resumes like they're the same thing, but they're just not. Talent is the entry fee. It gets you in the room. The playoff doesn't test whether you have talent, it tests what happens when talent alone isn't enough. One thing the playoff does constantly reward is the ability to win ugly. Look at teams like Georgia and Indiana this season. Neither team needs everything to go perfectly to win big games. They can survive bad quarters, missed assignments, and low-scoring stretches because they're deep and structurally sound. Depth matters a lot more than star power in the playoff. When injuries hit, fatigue sets in, and when the game turns into a grind, teams that rely on a few stars break first. We saw that last season with Arizona State. Georgia has lost its wide receiver 1 and RB1 for great stretches this season, but their next man up mentality has led to dominating victories no matter what. Teams that are built to survive chaos keep moving. The college football playoff is also one of the few environments where coaching can be fully exposed. There's no margin for conservative decisions, no second chances, no let's get him next week. Look at Ryan Day, Kalen DeBoer, and Kirby Smart. Whether you love them or hate them, all 3 coaches are elite at one thing: in-game adjustments under pressure. Aside from Ryan Day not knowing how to recruit kickers. Clock management, 4th down decisions, halftime changes, playing in a national championship, this is where the playoff games are decided. Teams don't lose because they're untalented, they lose because they fail to adapt fast enough. It's also time for those that are kind of unproven in the playoff, like Dan Lanning, Pete Golding, Brent Venables, to prove that they actually belong. This idea of coaching under pressure isn't just narrative. It shows up pretty clearly in the numbers. If you look at career win percentages in ranked matchups, the coaches who consistently succeed in the playoff separate fast. Kirby Smart has won around 75% of his games against ranked opponents, and Ryan Day is right there, winning about 75 to 80% of his ranked matchups as well, granted they were slightly easier. Nick Saban over his career also sits in that same elite 80 to 85% tier. Those numbers matter, because ranked games are the closest proxy we have for playoff level competition. Super short prep windows, elite opponents, and no margin for error. When you compare that to coaches making their first or second playoff appearance, the drop-off is noticeable. The playoff doesn't reward potential, it rewards coaches who've already proven that they can win when the pressure is at its peak. The playoff doesn't just test what you do well, it punishes what you do poorly. Think about games like Georgia versus Ohio State a couple years back, where one mistake, one penalty, or one blown assignment swings everything, like that fateful kick. Now contrast that with teams like Indiana, who've been super consistent and disciplined all season, but even they got bailed out by a missed kick. Then look at a team like Miami. Miami definitely has talent, no question, but they've repeatedly shot themselves in the foot with penalties, turnovers, and poor situational execution. Hell, they've lost to 2 unranked teams. Like, are we serious? Louisville? In the playoff, you don't get away with that. The playoffs rewards teams that don't beat themselves, not teams that rely on emotion or momentum. So in the case of Miami, They can only go as far as Carson Beck, and their defensive play calling can take them. Strength of schedule is another metric that people debate constantly, and it matters a lot, just not the way most people think. Historically, teams with top 25 strength of schedule make up the majority of the teams that win college football playoff games. Undefeated teams with schedules ranked outside the top 30 have struggled far more in the playoff than teams that took losses against elite competition. Again, a good example of this is Oregon last year. That doesn't mean a tough schedule guarantees success, though, but it does prepare teams for what the playoff demands. Teams that have already faced multiple top-tier opponents are just faster because they've played them almost every week, handle adversity better, and don't panic when momentum swings. Strength of schedule doesn't win championships by itself, but it hardens teams, and in the playoff, being battle-tested matters a ton. One of the biggest myths about the playoff is that it rewards a specific style, high-powered offenses, elite defenses, or explosiveness. But the playoff doesn't reward style, it rewards adaptability. The best teams can win a shootout or rock a fight. They can lean on defense when offense stalls, and they can score super fast when they need to. If your team only wins one way, the playoff exposes it immediately. The question really becomes, what happens when plan A fails? And all of the super experienced teams know how to get to plan B, and they do it fast. Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama. But then you look at a team like Oregon, Oklahoma, and Indiana. They've all made it to the playoffs before, but have struggled to adapt, which has been evident as they have no wins in the playoffs. And the real question here is, can they make those adjustments this year? If there's one statistic that consistently decides college football playoff games, it's turnovers. Since the college football playoff began, teams that win the turnover battle win roughly 75 to 80% of playoff games. That number is even higher in semifinal matchups. Against elite defenses, possessions are limited, mistakes compound way faster, and one turnover can flip an entire game. This is why disciplined teams survive, and the chaotic ones don't. Teams with amazing defenses, like our top four, Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech, generally have the best chance to go far in the playoffs. The playoffs magnifies mistakes, and teams that can't control them don't last. This is why the playoff often feels unfair, because it's not designed to reward resumes. It's designed to reward the most adaptable, resilient, and experienced, war-hardened team. That's why regular season dominance does not guarantee postseason success. We saw that last year with Oregon. The playoff doesn't care who you were in October or November. It only cares who you are right now, under maximum pressure when the lights are the brightest. If the college football playoff kicks off tonight, don't just watch the scoreboard. Watch who responds after mistakes, watch who adjusts the best after halftime, and watch who stays disciplined even when momentum shifts completely. The team that does all of this consistently will win the national championship, because the playoff isn't testing who looks best on paper, it's testing who survives when everything goes wrong, because that's what makes it brutal, and that's what makes it real. My pick to win it all is Georgia, because they do this exactly. They're seasoned, were tested, and have shown that they can compete with anyone, whether that be a defensive matchup or an offensive shootout. This is House of Stats, signing out. Enjoy the games this weekend, and feel free to drop any other metrics that I can research that you think are a better indicator of success in the playoffs. Thanks.